4 minutes ago, Congressman Jamie Raskin did something that will be studied in law schools for decades. He didn't shout. He didn't grandstand. He simply leaned forward, adjusted his glasses, and said 7 words that made FBI Director Kash Patel's face go white. "Director, let's talk about the 47 names." Raskin isn't just another politician. He's a constitutional law professor who taught at American University for 25 years. A former impeachment manager who prosecuted a sitting president. Someone who builds cases the way architects build cathedrals, methodically, structurally, with every piece supporting the next. And today, in the House Oversight Committee hearing room, he used every tool in his prosecutor's arsenal to dismantle Kash Patel's carefully constructed defense of the FBI's handling of the Epstein files. What made this different from every other Epstein hearing wasn't the questions Raskin asked. It was how he asked them. Like a professor walking a failing student through their own incorrect exam, gently exposing each lie until the entire foundation collapses. April 22, 2026, House Oversight Committee. The hearing had been scheduled for weeks, standard FBI budget oversight, but everyone knew what it was really about. The Epstein files, the names, the cover-up that wouldn't die. Patel arrived at 10:03 a.m., 3 minutes late, flanked by 5 attorneys carrying briefcases that looked heavy enough to contain answers to every conceivable question. For 90 minutes, the hearing followed the usual script. Republican members praised Patel's leadership on border security and domestic terrorism. Democratic members pressed on controversial topics: the sudden reassignment of agents investigating white-collar crime, the closure of public corruption cases, the systematic denial of resources to civil rights divisions. Patel deflected everything with bureaucratic efficiency: ongoing investigations, personnel decisions, resource allocation, national security protocols. Then Chairman James Comer recognized Jamie Raskin for his questioning time. The room's energy shifted. Raskin has a reputation. When he asks questions, careers end. He doesn't need to raise his voice because the facts do the screaming for him. "Director Patel," Raskin began, his voice carrying that particular professorial tone that makes every word sound like a footnote citation. "I want to start with something very basic. When you became FBI director, did you receive a briefing on the Epstein investigation?" Patel nodded. "Yes, Congressman, I was briefed on all major cases." "Good. And during that briefing, were you told that the Epstein case involved multiple high-profile individuals beyond Epstein himself?" Patel hesitated. Just a fraction of a second, but Raskin saw it. "The briefing covered the scope of the investigation, yes." "That's not what I asked. Were you told that multiple high-profile individuals were connected to Epstein's criminal activities? Yes or no?" The investigation identified various individuals with connections to Epstein. Raskin smiled. Not a happy smile, the smile of a professor who just watched a student plagiarize their thesis. "Director, I'm going to make this very simple for you. I'm not asking about various individuals or connections. I'm asking if you were specifically briefed that the FBI had identified high-profile individuals, politicians, business people, celebrities, who were implicated in Epstein's sex trafficking operation." Patel's jaw tightened. "Congressman, the details of those briefings are classified." "The details might be classified, but the fact that you were briefed isn't. So I'll ask again, were you or were you not told that high-profile individuals were implicated?" Silence. 3 seconds. 5. Then, "I was told that the investigation had identified individuals of interest." Raskin leaned back. "Individuals of interest. Thank you for that confirmation." He pulled out a document. "Director Patel, I'm now going to ask you about a specific FBI internal report dated January 15, 2025. Are you familiar with this report?" Patel's eyes tracked to the document. "I'd need to see the specific report to comment." "Let me help you." Raskin held up the paper. FBI seal clearly visible. Classification markings redacted, but the header readable. Epstein investigation, high-profile individuals assessment. This report was compiled by your own FBI analysts. It was delivered to your office on January 15th. According to the metadata, it was opened on your personal computer on January 17th at 2:34 p.m. Do you remember reading it now? Patel shifted in his seat. Congressman, I receive hundreds of reports. I can't recall every... This one's pretty memorable. Raskin's voice got quieter, more dangerous. Because this report identifies 47 high-profile individuals connected to the Epstein investigation. 12 politicians, 8 business executives, 6 media figures. The rest, academics, lawyers, foreign nationals. Does that refresh your memory? The chamber went silent. 47. The number hung in the air like smoke from a gun. That report was a preliminary assessment, Patel said carefully. It wasn't finalized. Preliminary, Raskin repeated. Okay, so what did the final assessment say? How many names were in the final version? Patel didn't answer. Director, I asked you a question. How many high-profile individuals were identified in the final assessment? Congressman, I can't discuss the specifics of ongoing. It's not ongoing. Raskin's voice rose for the first time. You've told this committee repeatedly that the Epstein investigation is closed. Case closed. Investigation complete. So there's no ongoing investigation to protect. How many names are in the final report? Patel's hands pressed flat on the table. It would be inappropriate to publicly disclose that information. Raskin leaned forward. Why? Why would it be inappropriate to tell the American people how many powerful individuals were implicated in a child sex trafficking network? Are you protecting victims, or are you protecting perpetrators? No answer. Let me try a different question, Raskin continued. You've testified before Congress multiple times that the FBI found no credible evidence of clients beyond Epstein himself. Is that still your testimony? That is correct. No credible evidence, Raskin repeated slowly. So this internal FBI report identifying 47 high-profile individuals, that's not credible? That report was based on preliminary analysis that didn't meet prosecutorial standards. I see. Raskin pulled out another document. Director, let me read you something. This is from the FBI's own Investigative Standards Manual. Preliminary investigative reports shall document all identified subjects, witnesses, and persons of interest, regardless of prosecutorial viability. The purpose of preliminary reports is to establish investigative scope, not to determine charging decisions. He looked up. So according to the FBI's own standards, that preliminary report identifying 47 names should document everyone connected to the case, whether they can be prosecuted or not, correct? Patel's attorney leaned in, whispered something. Patel shook his head. Congressman, investigative documentation follows complex protocols. It's not complex, Director. It's very simple. Your own FBI manual says preliminary reports should list everyone involved. Your own preliminary report lists 47 people, but you've testified there's no evidence of anyone beyond Epstein. Those two things cannot both be true. Raskin didn't wait for an answer. He pulled out a third document. Let me ask you about resources. How many FBI agents were assigned to investigate the Epstein files after you became director? Patel looked relieved. Finally, a question he could answer. A specialized team of approximately 10 agents. Raskin's eyebrows went up. 10 agents. For the largest child sex trafficking case in FBI history, 10 agents. It's about quality, not quantity. Quality, Raskin repeated. Okay, let me give you some context. Do you know how many FBI agents investigated the September 11th attacks? Patel hesitated. I don't have that figure. Over 7,000. Do you know how many investigated the Oklahoma City bombing? I'm not certain. Over 900. But for Jeffrey Epstein, a man who trafficked children to powerful individuals for decades, you assigned 10 people. Does that seem proportionate to you? The investigation was focused and efficient. Focused, Raskin said quietly. On what? Because it wasn't focused on identifying Epstein's clients, was it? You've already told us there's no evidence of clients. So what exactly were those 10 agents investigating? Patel's mouth opened, closed. The scope of Epstein's criminal activities, which included trafficking children to other people, correct? That's what trafficking means, providing victims to clients. So how can you investigate trafficking without investigating the clients? No answer. Raskin pressed on. Director, I want to read you something from an FBI whistleblower who contacted my office last month. This agent worked on the Epstein case. They said, and I quote, "We identified multiple individuals who received victims from Epstein. We documented travel records, financial transactions, witness testimony, but every time we tried to escalate those cases, we were told to stand down. The order came from the top." Raskin looked up. Did you order FBI agents to stop investigating Epstein's clients? That allegation is false. So your agents were free to investigate anyone connected to Epstein? No restrictions? Investigations follow proper protocols and evidentiary standards. That's not what I asked. Raskin's voice got quieter, more precise. Did you at any point instruct FBI agents not to pursue certain individuals connected to the Epstein case? Patel's jaw worked. I provided guidance on investigative priorities based on available evidence. Guidance, Raskin repeated. What kind of guidance? Focus on these people but not those people. Investigate the small fish but leave the big fish alone? Congressman, you're mischaracterizing. Then clarify it for me, Director. What specific guidance did you give regarding which Epstein-connected individuals should or should not be investigated? Silence. Raskin pulled out yet another document. The pile seemed endless. Director Patel, I have in my hand a series of text messages between you and a senior White House official. These messages were obtained through a Freedom of Information Act request. In one message dated March 3, 2026, the White House official writes, "How's the Epstein cleanup going?" You respond, "On track. Files are being sanitized. Names are protected." The chamber erupted, reporters typing furiously, committee members leaning forward, cameras zooming in on Patel's face. Care to explain what "names are protected" means, Director? Patel's face flushed red. That message is being taken completely out of context. Then provide the context. What names were you protecting, and why? I was referring to victim names, Congressman. We take victim privacy seriously. Raskin didn't blink. So when you said names are protected to a White House official asking about Epstein cleanup, you were talking about protecting victims, not protecting powerful people connected to Epstein? That is correct. Interesting. Raskin pulled out another document. Because in that same text thread, the White House official writes, "Good, the boss is nervous about the list." And you respond, "Tell him not to worry. The important names won't see daylight." Dead silence. Director Patel, were you protecting victim names? Or were you protecting important names that won't see daylight? Patel stood up. Actually stood up. His chair scraped loudly. Congressman, I will not sit here and be accused of corruption based on cherry-picked text messages. Sit down, Director. Chairman Comer's voice cut through. You'll sit there and answer the questions, or you'll be held in contempt. Patel sat, slowly. Raskin wasn't finished. Let me ask you one final question, Director, and I want a yes or no answer. Will the American people ever know the full truth about who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked children to? Yes or no? Patel stared at the table. Yes or no, Director? Some information will remain classified for national security reasons. That's not a yes or no. No, Patel said quietly. "Not all information will be released." Raskin nodded slowly. "Thank you for that honesty. You just told 250 victims and their families that they will never know the full truth. You told the American people that some names are too powerful to expose. You told this committee that justice has limits, and those limits are determined by who you're investigating, not what they did." Raskin gathered his papers. "I have no further questions, but I do have a motion. I move that this committee refer Director Patel to the Department of Justice for investigation into obstruction of justice and potential conspiracy to conceal evidence of federal crimes." "So moved," Comer said immediately. Within 2 hours, video clips went viral. Number 47 names trending worldwide. By evening, 3 more FBI whistleblowers came forward. By midnight, the DOJ Inspector General announced an investigation. Sometimes justice doesn't come from speeches or hearings. It comes from a constitutional law professor who knows how to ask questions that have no good answers. Jamie Raskin asked those questions. Kash Patel had none, and 47 names stayed hidden, for now.